This is J.S. Bray with Mr. Bray Labs, and today in our episode of Inklings Behind the Scenes, I'm going to show you how I use AI to enhance my pre-visualization part of my developing an animated series. And so basically kind of bring people back up to speed where we're at. We're developing this in the public eye. Some of this has taken a long time. Some of it actually has been really kind of slow on purpose, and some of it is actually moving quite fast. And so what I want to kind of like catch you up to speed of what I'm currently doing, I'm developing the pilot. Now, we are currently working on season 0, outlining the 6 scripts that are going to be for season 0, creating all the character scenarios and stuff like that. But I'm actually working on the pilot. And so while I'm working on the pilot, I want to show you how I'm using AI to augment my process. And I'm going to show you a little bit of like really how you take a script and convert it into a shot list, and then from a shot list turn it into storyboards. Now, I know there's a lot to cover and really in sort of a different kind of format, because I've been giving a lot of like more like personal podcast kind of conversational experiences, interviews with people from who are investors to writers to just other creatives and other people in the world. But I kind of want to just get into the meat and potatoes of what it is to develop an animated series. So what this is going to do is I'm going to show you how to use AI tools, or how to use the tools, some of the AI tools that we are currently using for our for developing a pilot. Now, when I use AI tools, I need to kind of give some disclaimers. Like, understand they're called AI tools. I think kind of loosely, AI, artificial intelligence, and generative tools to create art. The actual course, like the actual whatever you kind of follow through when you create stuff that's specifically AI generated, it's very difficult, problematic to gain copyright over it. But what I do is I use this to help me frame the scenes. So these characters, this right here, if you've been following along, we're going to show you how we're going to be taking this script. So we're going to be taking these shot lists, which I've already done right here. I'm going to show you how I took these shot lists, and I'm still working on them, but I'm going through the entire script and creating a series of shot lists, and I'm going to be using some really cool tools. I'm actually going to be using tools that if you have access to an internet and stuff like that, they're probably already free to you, free or somewhat close to free. So I have my characters, which we know I've developed these characters. I'm show here real quick. These are the characters we've been working on for quite some time. Well, at least since February on the stream. So these are our 4 main characters: Poe, the stink bug; Christy, the firebug; Bronte, the worm. She's the bookworm. And then, of course, Kafka. And Kafka is just one of my favorite characters. Actually, I love all these characters. And so what I have here is I have these poses that are already kind of created for it, almost like an action figure. And the cool thing about when you design these poses, you're ready to start storyboarding. In a digital space, where you don't have to redraw every single character over and over again, these are really good placeholders. And I'm going to show you how I'm using placeholder designs that I have already created. These are my designs, and so they're Mr. Bray Labs designs. And of course, everyone on the team has seen this. Folks who follow the stream have seen this. But I'm going to show you how I'm taking these characters and I'm placing them in, really inside these different tools to create our storyboard. So I'm going to kind of give you a crash course of how this works, but you know that these are our characters. If you're new to the stream, that's totally fine. But now you're going to kind of see what we do. Now, I put them in sort of a green screen background so that I can cut them out as a PNG. If you know what that means, we'll get to it. If not, that's okay, because I want to show you what I've done. So I took the pilot script, and I broke it up into what's called a shot list. A shot list it's really what a shot list is. It's that take a scene, and in a scene, the beginning scene, the open library scene, we have Bronte. Bronte is coming in from her home, and as she's coming in, her home is being flooded. It's raining really bad outside, and that's drawing her into the library, really to get away from her home. And so I broke this down into a series of shots. And you can use AI tools to help you kind of break out your shot list, which is quite fun. I mean, if you have the imagination for them, or if you're familiar, because ultimately creating shot lists is about vocabulary. If you have a clear vision in your head, it helps you. So I broke this down into a series of shots: exterior shot, close up, low angle, close up, exterior, as I'm kind of moving inside the director in my mind, right? As I'm putting these things together. And so I thought, okay, great, that's what I want to do, but I want to develop these shots. And so I use a really great tool called Adobe Express. And so this is an AI generated image. Now, why this matters? Because eventually what's going to happen is, Daniel and I are going to take these background designs and we're going to convert these to our renditions. So these are our inspiration, our reference images. I need to kind of get this, there's a weird thought amongst creatives, amongst the world really. If you use a reference, you're cheating. Well, that's, if you somehow, if this is a reference and then I draw from this reference as inspiration, if I say, oh, I love this color palette, the sharp contrast between the cyan and then the nice amber glows that come through this is, it's not cheating to use a reference. This is really like my color reference. But when I develop these stuff, when you develop these tools, you go in the AI generated tool, and I'm going to show you a little bit out of sync, but just kind of show you, if we look at our shot list, it says exterior shot, Sanford Library at night with lightning and rain. Okay, I put exterior shot, country brick built library at night with rain. Now, that's because I know what the Sanford Library looks like. The Sanford Library is inspired by the real Sanford Library in Sanford, Maine, the Goodall Library. But anyways, I know that this is like, that's the vision I have in my head. AI is really great for kind of just popping it together. This would take probably, 40 hours to draw. And so I'm not using this in the live production of the film, but I'm using this as a reference. And I do believe if you're a filmmaker or a storyteller, use AI to help you come up with your good concepts. Do it. There's nothing cheating in it. Now, if you present this as something that I designed on my own without anyone else, then you're kind of like, well, you're lying. But I know in my mind's eye, this is what the library resembles. And I love the stark contrast to this stuff. Now, in this tool, if you're familiar with Adobe Express, you can actually create your own like little slideshow. And these are the images that I've created as I'm moving closer to the library. And then, of course, it cuts to inside the wormhole, which is Bronte's home. And so we're going to see that. But as I'm breaking these together, as we're moving up the steps, now these look almost like photorealistic. And that's something that is really great about AI, but it's actually something I don't like about these boards. That's why I have to redraw them. They're not a cartoon. These are not cartoon graphics. And that's where we're making cartoons. And it's only going to sit, like at frame 16 is when we're going to stop. We can go through and we can label these scenes. We have this, that, I could label it exterior shot. We can go through, which is actually really nice. So if we go and we label it this way, I can actually bring in this stuff and I can show like this is really a good quick way for me to get the storyboards as I sort of work through the shot list. And so I broke it up into numbers. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to duplicate this so that I can actually show you without it destructing my flow how this AI generated tool works. So I have a style, a reference here. And so you can use different aspects of it. And this is not going to be just a full on through Adobe Express, but Adobe Express is really great for coming up with good ideas. If you're not using it as a professional or whatever, you're really kind of like, you're doing things the hard way. And so this is going to be my reference image. And so this is going to be the reference image for the back. So I'm going to say, look over here, like, let's just say I want to generate an alternative image. Now, it's going to try to do its best to take the same notes and create me a series of new results down below. This is like the original result. Let's see if it takes a little bit, but it's going to generate some other alternatives. Some of the alternatives might even be nicer than this one. So look at this like more kind of like this is almost kind of creepy library. This one's another one. I really like this one. Actually has some more old Southern kind of feel to it. I love the columns. But I know there's no like external columns that look like this. Like this to me is still the best library. It has a little overhang, the awning. But you can generate your background inspirations. And I make an emphasis of background inspirations because that's what I'm doing. So I'm creating the background inspirations. I'm taking the script, turning it into a shot list, right? Breaking it up by scenes and turning it into a shot list. And then from there, I'm taking and I'm generating using AI for backgrounds. And the backgrounds really do help me. And I place them inside. And here's an example. I place them inside. This is really, most storyboards are going to be black and white, kind of this light with very few colors. And so just so I can focus on the narrative, I place them in here. I desaturate them, and then I slap the characters in here. So I slap, here's of course, as the story's moving forward, Bronte is coming towards the library. Bronte peeks at the library, looking from her wormhole. She can see out. Just imagine that Bronte's looking out, just flooding away, and it's sad. So she has to leave her home. And so as she's moving up her home, she's hopping up the stairs. And here I just put a little gag, so if I need to lay off the dirt, which is just a little silly, right? She's just having a hard time getting up these steps. And then as she's moving closer to it, as this crack looks promising, perhaps there's a little bit of parenthetical citation, perhaps it's implying some notes that are in the script. But right now, I'm taking all I can to interpret as quick and fast as possible what the script has to say about this scene in the library as she moves into the library. Now, the cool thing is that it's iterative. I can keep changing. So as I move, Bronte's getting closer and closer to the library. I mean, we know that Bronte's going to be animated. We know these backgrounds are going to be redrawn, but they're not going to be so redrawn to where there's no point of reference. This helps Daniel and I to come up with okay, we want this long hallway. We give the AI sort of directions. Say, I want a long hallway inside a library, up some more steps. So as she goes deeper and deeper up the library, finding her way up the steps, past the bookshelf, and then she discovers, at the top, she discovers this hidden gem, this secret room. And this is where most of Inklings is going to live. This is the home of Inklings. And it's inside not just the library, but the library attic. And as she moves in here, she discovers one of her favorite books. Discovering further her favorite book, she gets closer and zooms in closer. Before you know it, closer, she's diving into the books. In this way, somewhat literally, but also both, as far as the sense of cartoon antics. And as she's moving forward, we get this feel like, oh, there's a weird crashing sound. Now, in the pilot, when you see the pilot, or when you've read the pilot, it starts off very much the same 3 points. Bronte, it's a dark night, rainy night outside the library. Bronte's in her home looking for reprieve to get away from the rain, and she is in dire need, right? As she moves inside the library. As she gets inside the library, she goes deeper inside the library, and it gets even more magical and more mysterious as she moves deeper and deeper into the library. Eventually, she finds her way up into the attic of the library, and this is the wonder. It's the wonderment of old books and what seems like it's forgotten places. And in some ways, that's what the beauty of libraries are. They're this way. Each page is almost hidden. You don't really know what's inside until you open the books. And as she gets inside, and she's going to be reading one of my favorite books and one of my favorite stories, and that's going to be Treasure Island. So I'm showing you this kind of the process. You start kind of working it almost like a comic book. And actually, the beauty of this is that we're developing this also as a comic book. We're going to be creating kind of giveaway comic books. Some of them we give away. Some of them we will have more for publication. It just depends on the level of depth that we go into it, but we want to release book versions of each episode. And we'll be doing that for all of the stuff because the whole point of Inklings is to get people excited about reading. So it really is, that's the core. So I'm gonna go back to you and show you we used the shot list. I took the shot list. I helped use with this AI generative tool to help me come up with some good shot lists. I created the slide. So I used more than one tool. Technically, I could build this all inside of Adobe Express because Adobe Express is collaborative. Adobe Express allows other people to come in here and design stuff like that. But the truth is, I actually designed this and put this in PowerPoint and play around and stuff like that. I like to play with it in a couple different softwares. But Daniel, him and I, when we kind of collaborate, sometimes we collaborate inside of Google Slides. Sometimes we bounce back and forth with PowerPoint. Google Slides is really great because it's like PowerPoint. I would say it's similar to PowerPoint. There are certain, and even keynotes. Daniel is not a Mac guy like I am, so we don't bounce back and forth with keynotes as much. So I might start in keynotes. It doesn't really matter. Don't get too tied up in the tools. So anyways, now I'm going to show you what I've converted this to. So I've taken this and I've turned this into a comic because I want to get more flavor. I want to get more ideas of what's going on. And I have this nice little rough vignette around it. And it's basically breaking it into a comic. So I can interpret the script into storyboards. And I also take those storyboards and I can interpret them as a comic book. And so whether or not the final rendition of the show has this full comic book feel, it may or may not. There's still some development of the ideas. And you can see when you go from the black and white kind of simplicity of it. It's just so straightforward. It's very cinematic. But I also think that it can be comic-like. It can be like a comic book, and that it gives us an idea. I want to look at both versions. I want to look at the cinematic version and possibly the digital print version of what each episode is going to be like. So because we're doing something different, we're creating this project in public that is going to always have a published component. And that published component is that there's going to be books. There's going to be books. And so moving on through, you can see kind of the difference of the story when I create more like a comic book, when it seems like more like comic strips, which was really, really great, I think so. And then we're moving on forward. As it gets in, perhaps the library can be a new home. You can see it's very similar. And so I do both. I put this together to where the comic book is sort of the spoon feeding the story, and then the other part is the cinematic version of the story. You want to tell the story backwards and forwards. Anyone who is truly confident in their story understands what it is backwards and forwards. So you can refine that. So we can move closer. We can give deeper. So like, for example, here we are. And I know I'm just giving you this idea right before Bronte comes inside the library. She discovers, which we can't quite see, a hole in the wall. And so this crack looks promising is what's considered exposition. So she's kind of saying what we're all thinking, like, well, is there a way that you can get inside the library? I have to ask myself these questions, like, is this going to be like, is that going to take you out of the story? Or can we watch her kind of worm her way inside? Do we need this stuff? As a comic book, I think it probably works to put this little graphic here and to say, this crack looks promising. I built these graphics, these comic graphics, I actually built them inside the presentation tool. And I really recommend that you do the same. Take your storyboards and turn them into sort of like half storyboards, kind of like comic strip storyboards, before you put them into an animatic. And that is the process that I'm doing, from script to shotless to actual comic strip. And then from there, I turn it into the animatic. And that's what we'll be working on. I'll be showing you an animatic with me reading and me going through, not today, but in our next, that's my goal, is on Monday, I'll be giving you an animatic of this scene, reading the script, showing it through, and it helps us kind of iron out the flow of the story. And you can see, I actually moved quite quickly through just a single scene. And the actual pilot itself, I'll board the entire pilot, and to where you'll be able to see the entire pilot episode in multiple iterations before it goes live. And then, of course, at that point, we'll be able to have the voice actors come along, and we'll animate these characters. In some aspects, I probably will have even more animations done, so you kind of see. But this is also a comic strip. It's a Inklings as a comic, Inklings as a storyboard, and Inklings as a shot list. So going back through again, I used a shot list that I brought from the script, and I'll even show you how you can generate shot lists probably in the next episode. And I'll show you how you take your script, and you can even ask some AI tools, which I use at Copilot, to kind of help me visualize. If I don't already have a clear vision, or if I'd like to see some alternatives to it, it's nice to say, hey, can you help me come up with some shot lists for this? And then you can go through and you can tweak them. You can address them. It's important to not be don't be a troglodyte. Understand that technology can be very beneficial. It can help you a great deal. But the other part is, knowing that technology can help you a great deal, do not overly rely on it. It's still your imagination that you're trying to fuel. So bring your imagination to life with these tools. I use AI to help me with pre-visualization. So these are not the final graphics, but they are graphics that I will be using inspiration for. And so this beautiful, beautiful image that was generated by AI, but many of this video is not actually generated by AI. It's largely generated by my ideas and putting them together. So you can kind of see that the significance is as we start developing this. And hopefully we'll get some speed runs where we're showing you the designing the stuff inside different design tools, how we can model our designs. So why this image is not perfect for production. And it's just a little rabbit trail. This image is not perfect for production for a few different reasons. The first thing is, one, it's not mine. It's AI generated, so I can't copyright it. People can say, well, it's mine. You can use it how you want. I don't want that. But the other reason is that this is not animated. This is not designed in such a way where this isn't a layer. I couldn't come in here and let's just imagine, for example, I want to have the lights flicker, right? Or I want to have a silhouette of a person walk by. I have no control over that. I have no control over this. I can't turn this light on. I can't have, let's say a moth is flying through here, which that would be fun. But like all these little elements, I couldn't put the rain across the building. I cannot animate this. This is just a static, singular image. And so I cannot control this. And to be an animator and a storyteller, it really is about having control. And I don't mean it in a mean way, but you're about telling a story. And that means you control the color, you control the vertical, you control the horizontal, you control how people dive in and engage. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you much for being a part of this stream. I really do appreciate you. And I hope this was an exciting experience to see sort of the behind the scenes as I do the pre-visuals and the comic book creation of the Inklings series. So as we're going to be releasing this stuff, just letting you know, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the pilot while Cody and Matt and I kind of hammer out all 6 episodes. Some of that stuff, that conversation we're going to have on the stream. Some of it we may not be able to because just it's not always prudent to be able to get all 3 of us all together at the same time. Cody's in Alaska, I'm in Nashville, and Matt's he's in Austria. So we're all pretty far apart as far as time and stuff like that, but we are working. So anyways, thank you so much for being a part of the stream. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. I would love it if you could like and subscribe and share. I've actually changed some of the parameters of our channel. While we've been a kids-friendly channel, and we will remain friendly as far as I tell you, I've decided to make our videos not kid-friendly, not because they aren't kid-friendly, but that way that people can comment. I was realizing we're missing out on a great deal of community and engagement, and this also might save people from emailing me, not to be mean, but my inbox exploded and I don't have any room. But if you can comment and stuff on videos, I'll be able to engage with you. And I'll be able to engage with people in hopefully a prudent way, more quickly instead of waiting for a long time. And other people who have done so much participation in our contests and stuff like that, I just need a better way of engaging with you folks. And so I have to kind of make a concession to make the channel really open for comments. And you can't do that when it's a child-only comment on YouTube. There's some other parameters for like that. But anyways, wanted to let you know, I hope you're all doing well. I pray that you have a blessed day and continue to like and subscribe. You mean the world to me. Thank you so much.